decisions, great mound visits, great job not letting the best player beat you.
This one crushed, out to right field. And it's going to be out of here. Pennsylvania walk-off Travis Devonic sends him to Williamsport.
With the 37th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Kevin McGonigal, a shortstop from Monsignor Bonner High School, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's going. Yes! And it is gone!
Yes!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Are you kidding me? Oh!
His 10th career home run in the postseason. And he may never hit a bigger one.
What is up, Delaware County? Actually, I should say Delaware, because we are here at the brand new Dick's House of Sport in Wilmington, Delaware. My name is Brendan Ricciardi. I'm here with Ben Thorpe. This is episode 67 of Delco Baseball Now. A little bit of a different venue here. Ben, this place is massive.
Yeah, this is insane. I went up the rock wall and shanked a few drives, but this place is awesome.
Yeah, I hit 1,200. Better than I expected. It was
a
lot more of a slice than even I'm used to out on the real course, but
That's how it is.
It is what it is here. But thank you to Dick's House of Sport for having us out here. I think this is a perfect venue to have. This is a spot that we didn't even know existed to what it is now. It's basically Dick's Sporting Goods on steroids is probably the best way I could describe it. It's got a rock climbing wall, it's got the golf simulators, the batting cages, and 2 of the most handsome podcast hosts in the tri-state area.
Yeah, we might be a little bit off on like one of those things, but we'll let everyone guess what. But yeah, no, this place is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's a good spot for like a kid's birthday party. Fall down some rock climbing walls. But you got the harness. So you're all good with that.
Harness is good. We're all set there.
Yeah, we're all set. But yeah, this is going to be our high school preview episode. We got, basically what we're going to do is we got about 20 or so teams. We'll spend about 3 or so minutes on each team and kind of just run through our thoughts. We got our ever so popular power rankings coming back. We got our first installment. This is being recorded Thursday night, so the Friday games aren't a part of this. We'll have next week's show will be like the updated power rankings here. But first, our other advertiser, we got to give a quick shout out to our people over at STS.
If you love working with kids and making a difference, then substitute teaching is the perfect job for you. Substitute Teacher Service is hiring teachers in your area year-round for all positions and levels. A teaching degree is not required. We provide you with all necessary certification and even help you to work towards a full-time teaching position. Great benefits, flexible schedule, a rewarding career. The Subservice is hiring right now in your area. Learn more and apply today at thesubservice.com.
All right, thank you to STS for their sponsorship as well. Also got to give a late birthday shout-out to my brother Cam. Hopefully he's watching here. This is being recorded on his birthday. He won't be listening on his birthday, but the happy birthday can be
happy birthday, Cam.
A couple days late here. We both have brothers that are Cam.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
How about that?
Yeah.
Brennan Cam and Ben and Cam.
There we go.
How about that?
We'll take it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess without further ado, we should just get right into it here.
Let's do it.
Since the majority of our teams in Delaware County come from the Central League, what we're going to do is Ben's got a timer right there, so we're going to set a timer for 3 minutes. Maybe I'll put a little timer on the
that'd be really cool.
So people can follow along. I think I have the
accountability is important.
Yeah, I think I have the talent to do that. So we're going to start off the Central League. We're going to go in the order of the standings, which means I get to talk about my alma mater, the defending 2-time champion Strath Haven Panthers here. The timer has been started.
There we go.
So the Panthers last year, they went 12-4 in the Central League. They went 17-6 overall. They won the Central League their second year in a row, but the playoffs didn't go quite as good for them. They lost. They won their first game against Penncrest. They lost their second against Marple Newtown, and then they lost to Upper Dublin in the playbacks game. So the question now is, kind of where do they go from there? Because they had 3 straight state tournament appearances, but then last year was kind of their crash down to reality that you can't do that every single year.
Yeah, and I mean they started and looked as good as anyone. I think ran out of gas a little bit at the end there. But I think this year's kind of almost getting back to their roots, their true what Strath Haven baseball. I think what we both kind of know traditional Strath Haven baseball to be of more of incredible pitching. I mean, we'll get into a little bit of their rotation, but it's Luke D'Ancona, Rob Mattei, Caden Schuster, a very good rotation, and I think they're going to be a little bit more of like that, good defense and a lot of small ball.
They might set the record for bunts in the Central League in one
it's
season.
Going to be.
Managed by Brian Feely for the, I believe, 22nd season. He said 2003, and then you take out the COVID year here. It's his brand of baseball. It's defense. It's good fundamentals. They don't really make many mental mistakes. Those practices, they could be long, they could be boring, but what they, aren't is, what they are is detailed. That's the best way I could put it.
For sure.
So talking about some of the departures, they lost Jake McDonough, they lost Matt Kane, they lost Zane Malarkey, 3 guys that were on our first and second All-Delco teams last year. But, as we mentioned, their returner, Luke D'Ancona, led all of Delaware County in strikeouts. Rob Mattei had a 1.26 ERA, and as the third guy, Caden Schuster had a nice year with a 3.3 ERA. Offensively, Ben Milligan had a big year. I expect him to continue doing that. Unlike his brother Sam, he's going to play baseball in college at Dickinson. Some other guys that had nice seasons that I think could kick that over is Eli Price, who stepped in when Jack Schuster was hurt last year. He'll be the catcher this year, and Matt Caputo at third base. But I think that what's going to win, they're going to be in a lot of low-scoring games.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a lot of low-scoring, a lot of close games, and I think the promising thing for them is that it's something that they're used to. It's not a team that lost a lot of guys and is going to have to play like a completely different brand of baseball. Like they're doing what they know how to do.
I almost think in a way that they have outside, maybe not inside the building, but outside the building, low expectations because, when you come off that state championship loss in 2023, you have the pressure to try and go back and try and get back to that. I feel like this is almost like a clean slate where, a lot of the core of that team outside of D'Ancona and Milligan is gone. Now it's just that these guys can kind of make their own identity. It's their team now.
Yeah, for sure. And if my clean slate starts with my ace being a Boston College commit, I'll take it. That's not a bad start.
3 minutes on the dot.
Perfect.
for preview number 1. I've actually seen a couple Garnet Valley T-shirts floating around here. That would make sense because they are the closest team to here. But we'll talk about Garnet Valley number 2. If Strath Haven is going to set the record for bunts in the Central League, I think Garnet Valley could set the record for extra base hits this year because this lineup is stacked.
Yep. Yeah, these guys can flat out rake, and it's going to be fun to watch.
They got some of the departures. Actually, we'll talk about last year first. They were 11-5 in the Central League. They were 13-7-1 overall. They won their first district playoff game against Council Rock South, and they lost in the second round to Dodgers' third-round pick, Chase Harlan, and CB
That'll
East.
happen. That'll happen.
Nothing to be ashamed of there. Rudy Schiller back as the manager again. Mark Zuppo, DBN intern. Shout out Mark for joining the squad this year. He's a big departure to Lackawanna. Eddie Sordanevich to DeSales, Jack Krausel to Stevenson, Nick Gordon to Penn State Brandywine. But the good news is they have a ton of bats coming back. Chris Schaller, very high up on our All-Delco Offensive Player of the Year rankings from last year. He's a Richmond commit. Brady Thompson, Washington College, Cole Lombardo, and Harrison Mall, I believe, are both uncommitted juniors at the moment, but that I don't expect that to be the case for long.
That's not going to last.
And Ursinus recruit Nolan Carroll. I believe Joe Anzalone, their closer, is a Westchester football recruit.
Yeah,
he
is. Yeah,
I've never seen him.
Big dude, man.
Yeah,
he can chuck too a little bit.
Yeah, because that's when we were talking to Zuppo about the team. He's mostly like a reliever, and I think is probably gonna stay that way. But that's the thing with Game Changer, where until you see these teams in person, you don't really know what people look like. And but yeah, I'm excited to watch this team. I think that they're playing at an elementary school, I think, this year because they're getting
I think it's where their JV used to be.
Yeah, they're getting their turf field redone over at Garnet Valley, so maybe even more power. I think that feels a little smaller, if I recall.
It might be. I remember we played there and got beat pretty badly way back in the ancient times of 2014. But I do remember a couple balls getting out of there, so it might be a little bit of a smaller field.
I feel like they're almost whatever the opposite of Strath Haven is, where they got some question marks on the mound that they have to figure out, but we know they're going to hit. Kind of like Strath Haven, we know they're going to pitch.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the plate look like? Some guys could step up. Ryan McGee, Cody Weiss had a nice year in his time. Kyle Klein, Cole Reber, and Kevin Coleman is a sophomore this year that has a lot of upside both at the plate, and I think he can. behind the plate, and can also be on the mound as well. So the question for Garnet Valley is going to be the same as last year: is do you have the arms to get through that 6A gauntlet?
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult ride, just pitching wise. But I think they do have guys that can step up and do it. Cody Wiest obviously kind of came in and did a really good job. Kevin Coleman jumped onto the scene a little bit over the winter. I think they got a pretty good shot.
All right, 3 minutes on the dot, man.
We
set the bar too high.
I think it helps that we know the time.
That is true. That is
really doing.
Set the bar too high. All right, next up we got Penncrest. They came in third last year, 11-5 season. They were 14-7 overall. New manager this year, Austin Morgan. I believe he was an assistant at Widener, because I remember seeing him recruit at some
he was a Widener guy. Yeah.
Penncrest won their second playoff game in school history last year. They played Upper Moreland. They won that one 2-1. Then they lost the media. Is it still a bowl if it's baseball? Media Cup? No, that's soccer.
What's the what would be the
Media Series? But it's only one game.
It's not even a series.
It's only one game.
I think the Media Bowl's fine.
I think it still plays. Yeah, but it was, if you think about it, it would be a series because they split the regular season.
Yeah, so I guess they kind of lost that too.
The biggest departure really in all of Delco baseball is Gavin Brown. He was our player of the year last year. Just ridiculous season on the mound, at the plate, leadership. They lost Ben Etten to Penn State Altoona. They lost Nico Tazi to Catholic. Josh Kalinowski, don't believe is playing baseball in college, and Sam Dinitz to Mount St. Mary's. Andrew Ray and Ben Pannoni as well. A lot of seniors on this team. I feel like, this could be, and we said it last year, and obviously came back to bite us. I feel like this could be a bit of like a retool year, because I think they have a lot of talent, all juniors in their starting pitching. They got Liam Ray from Carroll, Gavin Ray's brother. He came back as a junior. Henry Murphy had a nice showing. He beat Strath Haven as a pitcher as a sophomore last year. Lucas Punzo's back. Harry Giles is back. Cooper Biddle homered in the half scrimmage, half game against the Haverford School. I think one called it a scrimmage, one called it a game. I'm not exactly sure. But, I think that this is the expectations for this team. I would consider it a success if they make the playoffs. I think that, a lot of new faces, a lot of new, a new coach. But I don't want to, I feel like it has to count for something what the culture was last year, kind of changed around.
Yeah, for sure. I think getting that first taste of the playoffs, and there's a lot of talent coming back. But getting that first taste of the playoffs, I think, really does well for them. It gives you something to build on and something to chase, going into the upcoming years. Definitely going to be a lot of moving pieces for them this year, and it's going to be really hard to replace a guy like Gavin Brown, who was our player of the year. Again, just an incredible overall baseball player. But, to go with the money ball, you might be able to recreate him in the aggregate. And that's going to be what you're going to have to do if you want to get back to where you were.
How many wins do you think the pinstripe uniforms add to the total?
2.5.
2.5. Do you think that having the gray hats takes off a win? I've never been.
That's where the half comes in.
Yeah,
I think that's where. Yeah, you got the pinstripe would be normally 3. Then the hat knocks you off a half. You got like a coin flip there.
All right.
Maybe a tie.
I like it. Well, speaking of another team that has introduced pinstripes this year, it's actually Haverford.
Yeah,
Haverford was kind of a breakout team last year.
Are we getting saturated in the pinstripes?
We might be.
I don't know. Who's got it?
In the Central League, Marple's got them, Haverford's got them, Penncrest got them. I know the Haverford School has them.
3 or 4 is not bad.
Yeah,
that's okay.
As far as we know. But, Haverford, they broke on the scene last year. We did not really expect as much from them as we got, at least this early. They were 10-6 in the Central League. They were 13-8-1 overall. They won their first playoff game against Penridge. They lost their second one to Neshaminy, who I think was like the 2 seed or 3 seed, someone that was very high up. Brian Miller is back for his third year as the skipper. Really, there's only 2 main players that were part of the core last year that graduated. That's Will Tamar to Misericordia and Will Hoffman to Thomas Jefferson. But the key returners is a lot. Jimmy Boyle was, I would say, probably second or third in our Cy Young awards last year. Shane Durkin had an OPS over 1,000. Gavin McClafferty had a great year as their 3. He can move into their 2. Cam McCormick is apparently the number 11th ranked first baseman in the United States for that class.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Like a linebacker, so
that's pretty good.
I'm not too surprised about that. Sorry, my dad's distracting us with it's a Delco Baseball Now colored hat. That Philly City Connect that could play. Right. I like the rope hats.
Yeah, we're gonna tuck that in the back pocket.
Good design, yeah. but also Nick Alvanian's back, Ryan Cassidy, Owen Fleischauer. I think this team has extremely high upside. They could very well win the Central League. I think that they have the depth. I think that they might have to hit a little bit more as a group. When I was talking to Coach Miller, he said as a team they hit around 255, but with the pitching, I think we could see Cam McCormick on the mound, which he wasn't really needed much last year, but I've seen in the offseason he's ramped it up to upper 80s. I think he's one of the top prospects in Delaware County, and I don't really think this team has a ceiling. That ceiling is as far as these guys can take them. It's a really impressive team coming back, and probably one that, among the ones that we're most excited to see when they get out there. I think Jimmy Boyle's going to be, one of the, if not the best pitcher in the county this year. I'm sure there's a few other guys who might have something to say about that, but he was so good as a sophomore. I expect nothing but more steps for him and the rest of this team to take. It just seemed like the righties had no answer for him. The righty hitters, that's that front hip slider. Every righty I saw just looked wildly uncomfortable against it.
Yeah, he was a really uncomfortable at bat last year. He's added velo, probably added a little bit of sharpness to the slider. It's going to be a good year for him.
Yeah, and they got a couple other young pitchers that are going to work for innings. Sam Sturman, Lucas Rothstein. I think Jake Lasicki was on the team last year. So some depth is never a bad thing, but I think if they get a couple bats to progress, and honestly, I think Jimmy Boyle didn't have the best offensive season. I think if he can hit a little better as well, this lineup is very good.
It would be very impressive. And then also to add to the pitching, Cam McCormick, who pitched yesterday, had 4 strikeouts, 2 innings. Pretty. I reverse Haverford there.
Haverford. All right, next up we got the Lower Merion Aces, another team. They finished 10-6 last year. They were 11-10 overall. They lost their first district playoff game to Westchester Henderson. Manager Colin Quinn. Now, their key departures is a little bit bigger than a lot of other teams. They lost their top 3 arms. They lost Van Wilner to East Carolina. I guess he's doing a gap year at a prep school in North Carolina. He did not allow a single earned run in the regular season. Isaiah Negron's at Lincoln. Justin Spiegler, I'm not sure if he's playing in college, but Jack Scholes is playing at Catholic. You could argue that was their best 4 players outside of Brody Slensky last year. So I think that this could be a year that I'm not going to say necessarily is a bad year, but they might not be a playoff team unless some of these young guys can step up, because any team that loses their top 3 arms, it's a struggle to replace. You have to have all of your young players step up, and hey, maybe they'll do that.
Yeah, you could even say they lost their top 4. Jack Scholes also pitched them. He actually just started the game at Catholic over there.
Really?
Yeah,
he did pitch. I think we had him as a 2-way player.
He was a 2-way. He started again. Oh my God, Kane, whatever that team over in Jersey. He started against them. But yeah, anytime. Especially when you're losing a Van Wilner who.
Automatic. That's the best way you put it.
Automatic. It's going to be tough. They're going to need to hit more. We have Gus Wright on here, Peyton Spiegler, Nicholas Dragut.
He was a freshman, and I think he had the walk-off.
He did very well,
Strath Haven last year. Brody Slensky was, I believe, our second team All-Delco corner infielder.
He played very well.
So I'm expecting a big year from him. Brian Heck, we saw on the mound a little bit.
Saw him at a Legion game too. Looked pretty good, but I don't remember much from last year out of him.
Yeah, and Toby Myers as well. I think it's similar to Penncrest in the sense of it's a baseball program that doesn't necessarily have a rich history, but kind of got a winning culture last year, and I feel like that can go a long way in trying to help some of those young guys just take that step forward and say hey, we obviously the playoffs didn't go the way they wanted, but when was the last time you're looking at Lower Merion as a 10-win team?
Yeah, it's been outside of the previous year, it's been a long time since they've been this good. So, yeah, again, coming in, setting the culture, it's going to be a lot, and a lot of these guys need to step up, but, we'll see if they have the talent.
Yeah, so in that, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he goes to Lower Merion or not, but on that Legion team, I think Scott Fransky's son was on that team.
He might have been.
Or maybe he was on the, one of the 14s. I saw when we met him in the Little League World Series, he said his son played for, I think, Narberth Legion.
Oh, okay.
It might have been the 14s team. Hey, Scott, if you ever want to hop in the booth for Delco Baseball Now Game of the Week broadcast, we'll pay you for it.
You are more than welcome.
I don't know if we could pay what the Phils pay you, but, he could maybe be our color guy. What do you think? I don't want to, take anything away. But All right, let's move on here to the District 1 5A champions. That's the Marple Newtown Tigers, 10-6 in the Central League, 18-7 overall. Honestly, it's funny. They had a little bit of a slow start last year, and then it almost felt like as their better players got hurt, the team started winning more. They beat Phoenixville in the first district playoff game. They beat Chichester in the second round. They beat Strath Haven in the third. And, that Radnor game, the district championship, was just a complete team performance. They lost to Shippensburg in the first round of states. Toby McCart back as the manager. I want to say probably third or fourth year for him because he was the interim the 1 year.
Yeah.
So I think this is his third.
3. Yeah,
I think he was the interim. Last year was the first full year. And then I believe this is his third season here. But when you talk about the key departures for this team, a lot of bats, not a lot of arms.
Yeah.
Bennett Cox already tearing it up at Canisius. Lucian Berger is at Fairfield. Paul DeFrucio. Jason Bennett's at Rowan. Aiden Pearson is at Northampton. Aiden Henley probably didn't expect to be the main catcher going into the season, but when Jason Bennett was banged up, he kind of just took over that and had a great year. That's a lot of bats.
Yeah, that was a lot of their production that left. So it's again like we've kind of sound like a broken record here, but it's a little bit on some of these younger guys to come in and step up. But again, they have some guys that are going to be able to do that.
The good news is that a lot of their arms are back. Aiden Curran had a great season. I think he had around a 2.4 ERA, and he is back as a junior. Jack Mahalik, Catholic recruit, back as a senior. Jackson Berger had a nice year. I think he was hitting lower in the lineup. I'll trust the bloodlines that he's going to step up and be a good player. Sean Grogan was another starter. And then Jake Gorman came out of nowhere as a freshman, I think pulled up from JV. Was their closer at the end of the year, throwing like 85 as a freshman.
He pitched very well, yeah.
So I think that they're going to be a team that has some things to figure out. Listen, I've been around Delco baseball long enough to know that Marple is never bad. There might be some years where they're not as dominant, but they're never bad. So I think the question for Marple isn't going to be will they hit, it's who's going to hit.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'll trust that they have the young talent. I mean, after they won the district, I don't know if he's still coaching there, but Gabe Encarnacion was one of their assistant coaches, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, we're still going to be good next year. When I was talking about how many seniors they were losing. So I think that for this team to be successful, Jack Mahalik had a good year last year. I think he needs to really step up and be that like true 1-2 punch with him and Aiden Curran, that this team could really use. And I think that anything less than playoffs for Marple is always a disappointment.
Yeah, I think especially early on, it's going to be pitching that has to do the job for them and let the bats kind of get used to everything and catch up. Are they going to win a district title? Maybe not, but they're going to be good again. Yeah. Again, like you said, they're never bad.
Yeah. I'm going to miss watching Paul DeFrucio hit clutch homers.
Yeah, dude.
All right, let's move on to the team that actually at this point people already know. But number one in our power rankings was Radnor. They were 9-7 last year. They were 15-10 overall. This is a team that really matured throughout the year. And, because at the end of the day, like 9-7 in the Central League is nothing to write home about, but it's what they did in the playoffs that they all, kind of came together and developed very quickly. They beat Interborough in their first district playoff game. They stunned Unionville on the road against a Tulane recruit. They got them out in like 2 innings. They beat Upper Dublin in the third round, and then they lost to Marple Newtown in the district championship. They lost to the Saquon Barkley alum Whitehall in the state tournament.
We'll give you that win for Saquon.
Yeah, we'll give you that one. Mark Jordan, the state championship head coach with Marple, he's back. He's jumped back and forth between them. I'm not sure how many years he's been at each school, but he saw his team mature last year, and really, their main loss was Andres Cruz. He's at Wilkes now. Danny Armstrong. What we were told by our inside sources, I believe it was Joe Krasowski on Radnor, said that he's got an arm injury, so not sure if he's going to be able to throw it all this year or not. But the key returners is everybody else. Is really Austin Havertine and Ryan McWilliams were both awesome last year. Austin's a junior committed to Lehigh. Ryan, a senior, committed to Kenyon. Now you have Daniel Kellis throwing 96.
Yeah, that'll help.
As a junior
that'll help
as well. He's a Penn recruit. Offensively, Kyle Miltonberger, Teddy Monahan, I believe Teddy's a Rochester recruit, Joe Krasowski, Misericordia, Blake Havertine.
I thought he was effing that.
He flipped to
He
Misericordia.
flipped. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yep, Blake Havertine as well. Will Selbach, Matt Sacholski coming off a torn ACL will be huge for them. And then, Zach Fine was our first team All-Delco catcher.
Yeah, he he hit really well.
I'm also hearing that there's another Zacholski sophomore named Caden who's already up in the mid to upper 80s.
Sure,
so
we'll take it.
I think that this team has incredibly high potential, and it's funny that last year we probably got crap for being too low on them. Now we might get crap for being too high on them.
Yeah, that's how it works. You can never win.
Yeah.
But these guys are. You look at the talent coming in there. You can't miss it. It's going to be a very good year for them. It's almost more of a question of how far they do go.
Yeah. I think the biggest question here, Kellis was a little bit wild last year. I think if he can locate that, anywhere above 90, most high school hitters aren't at least squaring up consistently. If he's throwing anywhere,
and if he can show an off speed too.
Yeah, if he's throwing in the mid 90s and is has solid command, no one's gonna touch him there. But yeah, I think the Radnor offense last year was, I would say, good, not great. I think in the playoffs they won a lot of low scoring games. So I think just having these young bats continue to develop. If Zacholski can come back from that torn ACL and be a big contributor. I think he's a catcher. I don't know what the catching situation will be.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
This is going to be a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the team that really, no matter what, no matter who is leaving, who is back, Ridley always just finds a way in the playoffs.
Yeah, that they do.
They've made the playoffs every year. When I was a senior in 2017, they did not make it. They've made it every single year since then. They were 8-8 in the Central League last year. They were 8-11-1 overall. Tom Carey's their manager. He's in his second year after coming over from Upper Darby. They lost to North Penn, great baseball team and a great game. They lose a 3-2 game in that first district playoff game for 6A. They did lose some key pieces. They have a lot of people coming back, but who they lost was definitely tough. They lost Chris Kimmel, who was a second-team All-Delco pitcher for us. They lost Danny Stickney, who was the first-team catcher for us. He's at Mount St. Mary. I don't think Chris is playing in college. I could be mistaken. Brian Cawthorn's now at Brandywine. 3 big losses for them, but somehow, some way, it's the tribe mentality. They just find a way to just win baseball games.
That is what they do. Losing Danny Stickney, he did so much for them last year. It felt like any big hit, anything, it was him that was doing it. So finding a guy or guys to kind of step into that role is going to be tough. But one of the guys we were a big fan of is John Tian.
The boy. Shout out John Tian for winning our ugly sweater raffle and just never ordering the ugly sweater. I told him John, for the record, I might have taken him off the store. We can still get you one. If you order it, I told you I'd Venmo you back. Just never ordered it. So shout out John. He's like, no, you guys keep it. John's I believe, Lebanon Valley college recruit. Also, I believe Bobby Doherty was called Joe Dirt by Bryant during our interview last year. But listen, Ridley lost Kimmel, but Jake Mansfield and John Tian both pitched a lot for them last year. John had a great year. I think he was an honorable mention for us for the 2A. And, I just think that Ridley does a great job at, Ridley, along with Springfield, and I would say Penncrest as well, they're, I think, the schools that get hit by losing to private schools, losing kids to private schools a lot. And they just, they find a way to just play as a group. And I don't know, I just feel like I'll believe it when I see it that they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, can't really bet against the tribe at this point.
No, Danny Stickney revenge tour last year. He kind of called a shot. I mean,
he did.
He said that he was playing through an injury last year a lot, and this year and he was 2 years ago playing through the injury, and then he came back out and he backed it up. So happy for those guys. It was definitely a tight debate. In our power rankings, as we'll talk about who the last spot is. But Ridley took that last spot, and it's almost
deservedly so.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's almost more just brand recognition at this point here. All right, we got 4 seconds here. No,
nope,
we're all good.
Talk
all right, yeah. Let's move on to a team here that I think could really turn things around this year, and that's Conestoga. 6-10 in the Central League last year, 8-12 overall. New manager, Anthony Greco. He was an assistant at Radnor before this. They did not make the district playoffs last year. They lost Jake Friel to Sacred Heart. I believe Tyler Phillips, Richie Biberoche, and James Matzinger. I don't know if they're playing in college. If they are, it's news to us. But they got some guys back. They got Luke Hunter, who I think very good candidate for breakout player of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
Outside of Cam McCormick, maybe the biggest sophomores I've ever seen. James Queasy is a Penn State, I want to say Harrisburg.
Yeah,
recruit.
Penn State Harrisburg.
Chase Rantanen, a couple of these guys, they have a lot of seniors that are playing in college. Chase Rantanen, believe, is playing at York. I know that they got Cooper Evers is playing in college, Max Brown, I think Henry Melrose, Henry Fuerst. Landon Jones, I think, was a freshman catcher last year that really stepped in and performed well for them. I just feel like this is a team that it's weird because usually when you talk about a team with like veteran experience, that usually kind of translates to having like these deep playoff runs. But I feel like these guys kind of went through it last year, and I think that they believe they're better than they were last year.
Yeah. I think I believe they're better than they were last year. It's Luke Hunter, I think, is going to be a guy to watch. I kind of backed the breakout player of the year thing there. James Queasy's been good for a few years, and a couple other guys who have had pretty good numbers, even last year where maybe it didn't go the way they wanted to. There's a good chance they turn it around here.
Yeah, I mean, James was one of their best hitters as a sophomore 2 years ago, back when John was there with him. And, last year, I believe, second-team outfielder as well. I don't have the exact numbers. I think his OPS was over 900, so a big part of that lineup. But I don't know. I feel like a lot can be said about bringing in, A, a new coach, but B, a young coach, like somebody that can kind of just like be a spark. Like, I don't know, for anyone that hasn't been around Anthony Greco before, the dude's a spark plug. Like, I remember one game I was coaching Nether Legion. Ethan Pecco was actually on that team, and we were playing against the Broomall team, and Ant was the assistant coach, and it was like 100 degrees. Like, everybody was so out of it, and he was just like running around, fired up, bringing the energy, keeping everybody up. And it's just like, sometimes, like, obviously his baseball knowledge is great, but like sometimes just having a new energy around can make all the difference.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think those guys are going to respond to that. Especially someone like that who's going to kind of like fire you up, get you ready to run through a wall for him. Definitely a good choice for them to bring in.
A lot of youth coaching wise.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Toby McCart, Brian Miller, Austin Morgan, Tom Carey. Like, a lot of these guys, like, we've faced in the Delco League.
Yeah.
I actually had my first Delco League hit off Toby when he was on the Mudcats.
Really? No way.
Yeah. Sorry, Toby. All right, let's move on here to Ben's alma mater, the Springfield Cougars. We're almost a Springfield color
somewhat
scheme.
Yeah, we got a little bit.
It's supposed to be a little more gold than yellow because like the Delaware County flag is kind of the goal here. But we got Springfield. They were 6-10 in the Central League, 7-11 overall. They did not qualify for the district playoffs. Manager's Brian Francis, who I don't have the exact date, but he's been there for a while.
He was there since my junior year, so 2015.
Year 10 or year 9, I guess, if you don't count COVID.
Yeah.
Key departure, Sean Williams, who's already getting some innings at Seton Hill. Matt Bean, who is actually on Pitt Club Baseball. Shout
out Club Baseball.
Because when I was watching, as a Penn State Club alum, when I was watching them play Pitt in the fall, I see M. Bean, and then I see the stream. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like,
I know that guy.
I'm like, that can't be a coincidence. Ethan Marshall playing football at Stevenson,
yes,
if I recall. Jake Adams, Vinny Valerio, Michael Turner, and Colin Troide all gone as well.
Yeah, Colin Troide is playing basketball at York, I believe.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
Key returners, Nick Korse has been a regular starter for the Cougars since his freshman year. Ryan Melitti, David DeJohn, he committed somewhere. I'm completely blank. Sorry, David. Patrick O'Neill and Danny Meekum.
Find it real quick
here, yeah. But yeah, I think Springfield, this is definitely, I would say, considered more of a growing year. I think that they're in a spot where after a 6-10 season where you lose a lot of seniors, this is kind of the year where the expectations, I would say, are low, outside of the building, like to see what they can become. But I think, it's okay to have some years where you're trying to figure out, like, who is going to be a piece of the puzzle going forward. And, we've seen Nick Korse get a lot of regular bats over the first 2 years, so he could be someone that could really just jumpstart that lineup. What do we got here?
We got Mount Aloysius, a member of the AMCC in Division III.
That's PA, right?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Aloysius, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, I believe that's out west.
There we go. The more you know.
Because AMCC is Allegheny Mountain, so
okay.
yeah, it's out west.
Yeah. But yeah,
congratulations.
As the alum, what are your thoughts about Springfield, and what's the timer at here?
Well, I guess we had a little bit of a pause there for the for the research. But we're at 220.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Definitely going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year. I think pitching's the big question mark. They lost. I was looking at their stats, or I was looking at their stats. They lost, I believe, they bring back 9.2 innings of the 120 they had pitched. So there are going to be some guys that have to step up. I think the 3 guys who got innings last year coming back are it's Denny Monastra, Connor Manuel, and Patrick O'Neill. All got some time. I imagine those guys are going to, and some others are going to have to step up and make up for all those innings they lost. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a year of like finding out what you have, because they're going to be a young team.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be interesting, and I think they're going to learn a lot from this year.
Best field in Delco? I love Halderman. I think Halderman's
gorgeous.
a
beautiful field.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful field.
Yeah, I think it's a great atmosphere there. All right, let's move on to what might purely be the best playing surface in the Central League when it's kept very nicely is Harriton. They were 3-13 in the Central League last year. They were 4-16 overall. Obviously did not make the playoffs. Scott Krasinski back as the head coach. The key departures this year, former Declan Wayman, our former Delco baseball now intern. Ross Brotherson's playing at Case Western. Robbie Filipponi, Jack Uffberg over at Muhlenberg. And one that we recently found out was Charlie Belli is ineligible to pitch this year because he reclassed.
Yeah, that. So this is, I guess, technically his 5th year of high school. Is he at Harriton still?
I think he's still at Harriton. That's how it was explained to me, at least. Because I was talking to Declan and just asking about who are some guys to watch for Harriton this year, and he said a couple names. I'm like, so you're not going to pick Charlie Belli, who was like one of the best pitchers in Central League? He's like, dude, he can't play. Wow. I'm like, what do you mean he can't play? And
that's tough.
Which is a tough blow for them. He had a great year last year. He was second team All-Delco for us. But let's talk about who is coming back here. Bryce Siegel is a Penn State Abington recruit. Will Gallagher, Alex Johnson. Alex Johnson, I think, was either honorable mention or very close for us last year. Nate Swally and Cole Chodkowski were some names that were floated around there. I feel like they're also in a similar boat where they're in a bit of a retool, because when we were in high school, man, Harriton was good. They had, they had a 3rd-round pick in Jack Kahanowitz. They had Jonah Frankel, just always gave us trouble.
He went there low 80s.
And just carved.
Diced.
We beat him in the playoffs.
He was
5-1 against us. The 1 loss is in the playoffs. Believe it or not. They had some really good teams.
Him and Ricky Collins had to have been a combined 6-0 or 5-1 against us, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Harriton, it's definitely a program that over the last couple of years, I think 2 years ago they made the playoffs. They lost a bizarre game to Phoenixville. It was 15-12 or something. But I think losing Charlie's going to hurt. I know Jack Uffberg was hurt during the season for a little bit last year. Robbie Filipponi pitched really well in his time filling in that number 2 spot. But I would say the biggest thing about Harriton is there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. I think they do find themselves in a pretty similar spot as Springfield, where it's going to be another year where, again, you're starting to figure out what you have. I think they're going to be a younger team, and it's going to be just seeing what guys can step up.
Absolutely. What was the last thing I was going to say on Harriton? I had something else to say about Harriton here. I was going to say that sometimes it's hard for us to know some of the younger guys coming up because they're not in the Delco landscape. We don't see them. We don't see them playing Little League. They don't always train at the facilities that we go to and stuff like that. So it's definitely a bit different in that regard. But, I think overall, you're never going to go into a season telling yourself it's a rebuild. But I think that, if you can go out of this season with, the understanding that, some of these young guys are taking steps forward, then that's okay.
Yeah. Even with rebuilds, it's...
We thought Haverford was
rebuilding.
I was going to say,
there's been a few teams who are they're rebuilding, and they were not. They were built.
Yep. All right, last team in the Central League here. We got Upper Darby. Last year was not their year. Last year they went 0-19. They were 0-16 in the Central League. Did not make the district playoffs. Manager Kenny Kissinger is back for year number 2. They returned a lot of their guys from last year. Patrick Callahan was awesome last year. He was a second-team All-Delco outfielder. Yep. They lost Seamus Mahoney and Josh Siegel, but Jake Frederick's back. He was their number 2. Ant Roney, Albert McMichael. They got Tim Ramirez as a transfer over from Cardinal O'Hara. Nate O'Donnell, Justin Butler, and Yerlin Feliz is a transfer student from New York that's batting leadoff.
That's awesome.
That's batting leadoff. I was talking to Coach Kissinger for my preview article the other day, and it really feels like they are kind of embodying this, like, nobody expects anything from us. You know, like when you have that kind of a season, you know, teams, like, they're kind of embracing the idea that, like, teams are going to go in, like, maybe throw in their, like, 4 or 5 guy because they think they can save it for their big game next week, or they're going to just, you know, let some of the starters rest because, you know, it's a freebie. Like, they're using that to fuel them. And, you know, this is, like I said, this is being recorded Thursday, so we don't know anything after Thursday, but they hung with a really good Springside Chestnut Hill team in a 7-5 scrimmage.
Yeah, they did. I think they're going to be – I think they could play spoiler a lot, you know, and just be, like you said, kind of be one of those teams where you take them lightly and the next thing you know, it's the 5th inning, a 1 or 2 run game, and you're like, how is this happening?
You're stressing a little bit?
Yeah, you're starting to sweat. I definitely think they're going to be better. I'm excited to see what Patrick Callahan can do. He was a little bit like in there by himself last year, getting thrown to the wolves.
If they can get, you know, like I remember Tim Ramirez when I was covering O'Hara and Carroll in the PCL wildcard round 2 years ago as a sophomore. He was coming off an injury and he like ripped 2 doubles. I think went 3 for 4. You know, big sophomore. And then at O'Hara last year and now at Upper Darby this year, I think he can. You know, he's someone with experience. They can kind of bring some depth to that lineup and get some base runners on for Patrick or hit him in when he gets on base. And you know, I think having Callahan and Jake Frederick back after their experience pitching last year. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to contend for the Central League, but like I think they're gonna steal some games. Yeah,
they're going to be better. I think maybe like I don't know if it's the hot take, but like they're going to beat someone good.
They're going to beat someone they shouldn't.
Maybe mess up a season.
Yeah. Oh man, that'll be so fun if someone needs to get in the playoffs like the last week. It feels like, you know, it could be one of those years where like the 2 years ago Lions where like they beat the Packers from getting in and then they kind of took off. Like
someone's at the end of the year is going to look back at the Upper Darby game and be like, "That's."
You see, they got the turf infield. They got a turf infield now. It looks great. Yeah. I want to play there for my summer team because the fence is short and right.
Oh,
I can get 1 280 after that.
Yeah,
we'll see. All right, that'll wrap up the Central League here. Ben, do you have an official prediction for the Central League champ?
The Central League, I think we've kind of had this conversation off camera. Until someone beats Strath Haven, I think I'm going to pick them. That's going to be my pick.
That's fair. I feel like I look biased if I say that, especially if we double up. So I'll be
that for you.
I'll say Radnor. There you go. But I think the champ will come from Strath Haven, Haverford, and Radnor. Yeah,
I think look at like Marple or Garnet have a shot to put themselves in that mix. There's maybe a little more question marks surrounding them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see either of those two win it either.
All right, let's move on to the PCL here. We'll start off with Bonner. They were 8-4 in the PCL last year. They were 17-9 overall. They beat St. Joe's Prep in the first round, I guess technically the quarterfinals of the PCL tournament after getting a bye week. They lost to Newman Goretti in the PCL semis. They beat Frankfurt in that District 12 championship to earn a spot in states. They beat Upper Dublin in the first round of states. They beat Bethel Park in the state quarterfinals for the second year in a row, and then they lost to Hollidaysburg in the state semifinals. Steve DeBarbery's back. I'm not sure which year. I think he went straight from his dad to him, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually have no idea.
I think it might have gone straight from his dad to him. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say somewhere around like 7 or 8 seasons. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that feels right.
Feels right. They lost a ton of bats. They lost Jackson Keogh to Radford. They lost Harry Carr, who's having a great start to his career at Butler. CJ Nocello to Wilmington. Austin Cannon to Ryder. Quinn Bryan and Irv Fisher both to Wingate, and Rocco Calise getting some innings at Eckerd College in Florida. Probably he's going to throw more innings this year than he did at Bonner.
There's a real chance he does.
Absolutely.
He was one of the first guys kind of getting off the mark there. Him and Mike Costello, I think, were the first two guys pitching.
Luckily for Bonner, they might have lost some bats, but their top 3 arms are back. Rutgers recruit Corey Sheridan, Limestone commit Johnny Ortega, and Holy Family recruit Jack Redding return top 3 that were very good last year. And one of the things for Bonner, the reason they lost in that state semis is they didn't hit. But Corey Sheridan is eligible for the state tournament this year.
That'll help.
That'll
help.
Not being able to because the transfer rules. But Bonner is 6A now, which makes things a little harder. I'm not sure how many spots 6A gets out of District 12 because 5A was only 1, but now they got to compete with like LaSalle for that spot. St. Joe's Prep. I think who else is up there?
I think it's just 1. That could be another one I can check for.
I know St. Joe's Prep's up there in 6A. I know Father Judge is up there. LaSalle. LaSalle will always be good.
Probably half the PCL's up in 6.
Yeah, so they got their work cut out for them for sure. But other than that, they got Michael Coleman coming back. He's a Gettysburg recruit. Ryan Friel, another senior, had a nice year last year. Sergio Hernandez looks bigger and better every time I see him. And as you mentioned, Owen Lockhart is someone that is definitely popular to get an expanded role this year. Also, some young guys, Cole Romano, Gavin DeRita, and Danny Buckton, some young guys coming up from JV that could be big parts of this lineup. But I feel like this team is – listen, any team that returns their top 3 pitchers from a good team – I will have faith in. Are they going to win the PCL? I don't know, but I expect them to be in that upper echelon. And, it almost just feels like the start of a new era. Like that team, like those guys, a lot of that core has been there for a long time. Like has been starting since they were freshmen. Like I think Harry was starting as a freshman, Austin, Jackson, like them in like the years with like Kevin McGonigal and Joey Jamucci. Like this feels like even with the same arms back, this is just I won't say fresh start, but it's kind of a new core. Yeah,
it's going to be the beginning of a new core, and it's going to help having the 3 arms that they do have going out there. It's going to be tough. We've seen Corey Sheridan and Johnny Ortega pitch already, and a little bit of Jack Redding. It's going to be tough to beat any of them. And that takes a little bit of pressure off a lineup that lost a ton of guys.
All right, let's move
on.
Also,
it is 1 PCL team makes the state.
That's a tough.
So you're
pretty much
going up against. You're going to beat LaSalle.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Cardinal O'Hara. Cardinal O'Hara went 5-7 the PCL. They went 5-12 overall. Lost to Archbishop Wood in the PCL wild card round. Rob Benedict is their manager. Ben, I know you want to talk about your offensive player of the year choice.
Yeah.
Real quick, we'll say who left. Kevin McGuire is, I think, playing club for the D2 defending champion Westchester University club team. Kevin King is at Gwynedd Mercy. Noah McMullen is at Capital. And, Tim Ramirez technically counts as a departure because he went to Upper Darby. I also found out a guy that we didn't mention for Ridley, Luke Ladislaw. I remember his brother, Zach, from Ridley. He transferred back to Ridley. So that's another, call it
loss.
That's
a good pickup, yeah.
Tough
loss for good
key
pickup
returners.
For Ridley,
I know
loss,
you can't get enough of this guy. Brendan Till was, I think, led Delco in batting average last year. If not, it might have been Bennett Cox, but he was close. He was the PCL Offensive Player of the Year. He is a LaSalle recruit. Also, side note, happy LaSalle's program is back.
Yeah,
great
for
local
sure.
D1 spot to go for guys.
They got a pretty good recruiting class coming in too, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they do once they get out in the field next year.
Yep, we got Jack Quinn, Jack Coleman, Adam Schreiber committed to High Point in the offseason. Didn't throw too much for them last year. Patrick McManus, Joey Wennemer also back as well. So I feel like we could be in for a similar season as last year, maybe like making the PCL playoffs, maybe having to play in that like wild card round, being in that like 7-10 range. But if Adam Schreiber lives up to the potential, he's massive. I don't think he pitched as much last year with some of the older guys they had, but if he develops into a true ace, they can, kind of similar to Upper Darby, they can just like piss some people off.
Yeah, for sure. I think with Schreiber, the strike throwing is going to be, I believe, because strike throwing is going to be the big thing for him. If he can get in the zone, I think he'll have the stuff to compete. But with everyone, having a guy like Brendan Till in your offense, shout out all the Upper Darby Blue Sox that we mentioned there. Kevin McGuire, Kevin King.
I didn't know McGuire.
Yeah, Kevin McGuire was a Blue Sox. Kevin King was there, and obviously Till. But yeah, he's gonna be fun to watch this year.
Yeah. Where do you think he'll hit in the order? I feel like
he was like
second,
1 or 2. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He's probably going to stay up there.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we do not have official Delco Baseball Now betting odds. We should, because we could make billionaires with all the let's just say baseball fans in Delaware County.
At the same time, if you're betting on high school baseball, it's time to call the number.
I had one of my friends one time say, well, first off, the Delco League, maybe, because it's
that's
semi-pro
different,
and they're like older. Someone's like, you should do betting lines for the Little League District Tournament. Imagine being 12 and getting a DM. I'll give you
that'd be
$1,000
awesome.
to throw this game.
I think it can only be Little League and Delco League. It's high school's weird. The other one's not.
Little League would be
not
great.
actually. No. Little League would be really weird.
All right, let's move on to Archbishop Carroll here, who went 1-11 in the PCL last year, 2-17 overall. They got a new manager, Pat Dunn, in his first year. I think he was a coach at, I want to say, Gwynedd Mercy before, I believe.
Sure.
Shout out intern Mike Livingston for sending us his preview, so we can give him some love on that preview while we talk about it. But I know that, hang on, pull that up real quick. I know that they got unfortunate news that one of their transfers, Bennett Bishop, he's a lefty Duke recruit pitcher.
Sick name.
Fantastic name.
Sick name.
I mean, you could have told me what his name was, and I would tell you lefty pitcher.
Yeah.
Bennett Bishop.
So at the same
maybe
time,
power-hitting
like
first baseman.
golfer as well.
Maybe that's it too. Yeah.
Low-key hockey as well.
If he's got the long hair, I believe it. So unfortunately,
one of those three
unfortunately,
sports.
Bennett, I don't know if he has Tommy John, but he's going to be likely out for this season. Only a junior though, so he could look to be the ace of the squad next year. They also got to transfer Gavin Moore from Plymouth Whitemarsh, who I think he goes to our gym.
I think he does too.
Yeah,
shout out Superfit.
Shout out Superfit. No free advertising unless it's the gym we go to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I saw someone wearing Mount St. Mary shorts and like a Carroll T-shirt, and I'm just like connecting the dots here. Really connecting the dots on that. But he seems like he could be a big part of their lineup this year. They also got Jalen Tidwell, who I think he's going to, I think it's pronounced Erskine or Erskine.
Oh yeah. He was very good last year.
Division
I was
II
very
school.
impressed with like what I saw from him.
Let's see. I think it's Erskine. I'm gonna look it up here. You see it anywhere in here? It's just great television right here. Yeah, here we go. Erskine. Yeah, South Carolina.
Nice.
A lot of those D2 schools in South Carolina somehow
get yourself some sunlight down there.
Yeah.
That's going to be nice little warm weather.
So they lost the Ray brothers. They lost Gavin. They lost Liam to Penncrest. Dylan Gallagher is at, I think, Drew. I think I wrote Drew Gallagher, but I think his name is
at Drew.
His name is Dylan, and he goes to Drew.
A lot of the Delco to Landmark Conference pipeline is.
I didn't even know they were Landmark,
going.
To be honest.
Yeah. Drew's Landmark.
Yeah,
a lot of the guys we talked to.
Anthony Altieri was, I think, an honorable mention for us last year as a pitcher. He had a good year, but I think that for this Carroll team, it's a new coach, but I think even in Mike's article, they can kind of say, hey, first year at a new program, it's kind of just about what do you got? There's a lot of unknowns. Let's see, what are some things that Mike was talking about here? Very early in the season, they've played a couple of scrimmages so far. Let's see. Max Barnes is a sophomore who's got some time. We got freshman Shane Panici.
Okay.
So see a young team like this.
Yeah, there we go.
I feel like it's better. Like if you're gonna have not a great season record wise, at least have young players to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
And because when I was looking up that roster, I really just didn't recognize a lot of the names, showing that such a young roster. It looks like Dan McNally is going to be behind the plate potentially.
He's been around.
Yeah, he's back. I remember that name. It's funny, some of these names that I just recognize from liking our stuff. But it looks like Matt McGaughy, Mulligan, and senior Mark Foe are expected to kind of be the rotation. So it's definitely it's especially hard when you're talking about kids teams and stuff. You don't want to just look and be like, oh, they're not going to be good. But it just seems like right now, I mean, you're coming off a 2-17 season. Just see some progress, have some young guys that can be a part of the core, and next year you got a Duke recruit in your rotation. So
I think there's worse things that happen.
I think next year could be their year to kind of get back on the map.
And sometimes years like this are kind of fun where it's guys are stepping up, you're finding
no pressure.
Yeah, you're seeing what you got.
Yeah,
there's no expectations really helps.
All right, let's move on to our Interact teams here. We will start off with the Haverford School. Last year they were 7-3 in the Interact. They were 19-10-1 overall. They beat Penn Charter in the PACE quarterfinals. They lost a heartbreaker to the Perkiomen School in the semis. I believe they were down with 2 outs. They tied it, and then they ended up losing on a walk-off in the 7th inning. Jack McCann coming over, first year as a manager. Another one of those young managers coming in. He can't be too much older than us well. They lost a lot of arms.
He might be younger than me, actually.
He's somewhere around our age, I would say. They lost their, you could probably say, top 4 arms from last year. They lost Ian White Jr., who's getting big innings out of the bullpen for East Carolina. They lost Kevin Reevy to Army, who's also throwing already. They lost Fred Jordan. They lost Brandon Dunmore to Elizabethtown. They lost Connor Scanlon, first-team All-Delco shortstop, to Fairfield. And, Ian and Kevin were on our first-team All-Delco as well. Losing 4, All-Delco guys, when you also count in that Brenner Green is out for the year with an injury, any team losing 4 All-Delco guys is in for a tough,
it's going to hurt a little bit.
Crash back to reality. I still think they have talent. We saw them play Friend Central on Tuesday. I think that they're going to hit this year. Jaden Rivera already got 2 homers in 2 games at the time of this recording. Future Delco Baseball Now intern Pat White behind the plate. Zach Fiscaldo, I think, hit a grand slam in the scrimmage against Penncrest. Thomas Lawler was a second-team All-Delco DH for us last year. But I think that the arms are very young, and also just inexperienced. Jacob Horwitz is probably going to be the ace of this team, but he's coming off Tommy John and doesn't have too much varsity experience. Another Delco Baseball Now intern, Connor Haney, is going to be another one of their pitchers. Owen Murphy and Zach Lawler are freshmen. So I just think, especially with that stadium, bet the over in every Haverford game.
Yeah, every single one. It's going to be because their lineup can still swing it
absolutely
with the best of them. But yeah, the pitching is going to be a little bit of a. You're going to have to find out what you have.
Yeah, and it almost puts like Jacob Horwitz in a tough spot where it's like you're counting on the guy coming off Tommy John to be your ace.
He probably hasn't pitched in
and he absolutely has the talent to do that. He's a lefty chucking upper 80s. Just lock in that command, and he's going to be one of the better pitchers in the Interact. But
it's going to take some time, though.
Yeah, it's I think that this is a team that will have a solid year this year, and then they can be really good next year because Jaden Rivera is still only a junior. I think the Lawler brothers are going to take over when it's their time. I think Thomas is already on his way. I think Zach is like a 6'3" freshman that, especially as a lefty hitter on that field.
He was one of the guys that was in.
He was in our
video. Did the ascent thing. Yeah,
yep.
He was taller than both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Most people are taller than me. But
that's
with that being said, wrapping up the Haverford School here, I think that this year might not be their year to dethrone Malvern. But I really like the young core that they got going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you take whatever the opposite of the Haverford School's outlook is, that's kind of what we're looking at Episcopal, because Episcopal, they went 3-7 in the Interact last year. You wouldn't think that. A lot of close games, a lot of low-scoring 2-0, 3-1, all that games. 18-12 overall. They beat Westtown on a walk-off, Spencer Shue walk-off in the quarterfinals. In the first round, and they lost to Springside Chestnut Hill in the quarterfinals. 2-run double by Jamie Naris, Wayne Baseball, Delco Leaguer.
There you go.
Tom Grandieri back as the manager. They lost a good chunk of people both to graduation, injury, and also Timmy Dennis just choosing basketball because he's 6'8". I'd probably choose that too. A second-team All-Delco pitcher for us last year. Alex Barris at Lafayette just hit his first college homer.
Good for him.
Jack Hurd at Clarion already got 3 this year. 3 homers on the season. Tyler Beaulieu over at Cornell. And Michael Schaefer was an 8th grader getting huge innings for them last year. We are also told that he is probably going to miss the year with an injury.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. But
he's got 3 more. Most people, you can't say that.
A few more, and they got the arms to pick that up.
Yeah. Some key returners. Owen Pfeiffer was a second-team All-Delco middle infielder for us last year. I think he missed the playoffs and the end of the season with an injury. Jake Verbitsky back behind the plate, along with Gavin Terzaglu. J.D. Amoroso, I was very impressed watching in the Carpenter Cup, getting big innings at shortstop after his freshman season. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, they were talking to the staff over there. They were very impressed with
very
his
smooth,
growth.
very smooth.
Very excited.
I think they're going to have a very strong infield defense. Which, they had our Defensive Player of the Year, Alex Barris, last year.
I have another one.
Ian Farrell also back. Reggie King, who I believe is the son of Billy King, the old Sixers GM.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And then on the mound, Hunter West and Logan Carell. Logan is a Lehigh commit. Hunter, as just a freshman last year, was throwing like 86 with a really good changeup. He shut out Malvern in a couple innings when he started against them. Super high upside there. He was great in the Carpenter Cup as well. So I think that, on the mound for Episcopal, they might have lost some depth, with Michael Schaefer and Timmy Dennis not pitching. But, I think Carroll and Hunter West is one of the best 1-2 combos. And the reason I'm not as concerned about, can you pull the timer back up, by the way?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. One of the reasons I'm not as concerned about their pitching is because last year they kind of made it so everyone threw 3 or so innings a game. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot of guys with good numbers and low innings total. I think this year you could see Hunter and Logan really just go deeper into games, which they have the talent to do. It's just now that they're going to be asked to do that.
Yeah, and that's I think obviously Logan Carell's been up there. He's a Lehigh commit. Mm-hmm. He's been up among the best. I think Hunter West is going to put his name right up there with them this year as well. Two guys that I think are really going to have to shoulder the load a little bit for the pitching. But
we'll see if anyone can challenge Malvern Prep, but the answer is probably not. I don't know. They are losing Tage Davis and DJ Peterson from the rotation, so we don't have too much to say about Malvern except they're very good and they now have a scouting department or an analytics department. I saw on Twitter. I saw a tweet that said Malvern baseball analytics. I'm like,
that's kind of awesome.
I'm like, did you guys need any more advantages over everybody else? Quick programming note here with the Del Val. There was very, very limited information available at the time of our recording about Penwood and about Interborough. They both now have their game changers up, so we'll be working on the preview articles here. So we didn't have anything to say about Penwood. Academy Park, very limited information available, but Penwood and Interborough are both now on Game Changer, have their social medias up, so we'll be able to follow along with them more. So we'll start with Chichester, 12-0 in the Del Val, 12-7-1 overall. They had a bye week in the district tournament, then they lost to Marple Newtown. Dan Singley back as the manager. I believe he had his 100th win last year. I remember Dylan writing that article.
Yep.
Josh Claycomb graduated. I believe he's actually playing at DCCC now.
Nice.
I think I saw him.
Nice.
He had a huge year last year. 1,200 OPS.
He was the first teamer for us, right?
He was, yep. Troy Neff is gone. He's playing at Kings. Anthony Curl and Frank Ruggieri also graduated. Cole Sanford is, I think, a player who's going to take a big step forward. He has been starting for them since he was a freshman, has been a big part of this team, had a good year last year. I expect him to kind of be like the guy in this lineup. Trevor Goschler, Gavin Derrickson, Julian Sparks was their ace last year. He's back as well. Matt Johansson and Zach Murray. They have a lot of returning guys, and I feel like Chichester they get put in a tough spot where they don't ask to be like the team that gets the bye week in the playoffs. Like that just puts a target on their back. There are teams that deserve to be in the play. Look, they lost a close game to Marple Newtown. They didn't get embarrassed. They deserve to be on the same field as them. Now, when you look at this team this year, a lot of those guys back, they could shut a lot of people up by just winning that one of those district playoff games.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're probably going to be back in that same game. It feels kind of inevitable at this point. I think the last time they lost a Del Val game, I don't think they've lost a Del Val game. Yeah, I don't think they've lost a Del Val game since the pandemic. I don't really see that changing. So, you're going to have another shot. You kind of know where you're going to be. I think it's a good spot to, kind of a good spot to start the season in. And, see what these guys can do.
Yeah, I don't have their schedule in front of me. I do remember 2 years ago, they were legit. Like the team that had Jason Hankins. Like that
was a
year,
really good team.
His senior year. Like that team had a bunch of guys that ended up playing in college. Like they were giving really good teams a run for their money. I think they lost a really close game with a D1 Ruston commit pitcher.
Yep.
So
Didn't they play a close game with the Haverford School too?
Yeah. They lost by 1 that year. So I don't know. I think for them it's just a matter of can you I don't have their non-conference schedule in front of me, but I think that going to they play Bonner this year. I'm pretty sure they play Sun Valley. Just getting out of the Del Val and kind of challenging yourself more. I really wish that, they were a Central League team. Obviously, in different sports, there's different skill levels across the sports. But I think, we're going to see them. Will they go undefeated? Maybe, but I would think that they're going to win the Del Val.
Yeah, that would be my pick as well.
Yeah. All right, a team that we really don't have much. You can pull up the Max Preps if you want, or the Game Changer.
I don't have any of the stats on there, but it's
if you go on Game Changer. I think I at least had some of the stats from last year, but Interboro was 9-3 in the Del Val. They went 9-11 overall. They lost to Radnor in the District 1 5A first round. Manager Robert Martin, in his first year, I believe they had a new coach, and I think he had to step down for health reasons. I apologize, I'm totally blanking on his name, but Coach Martin is going to take over. And what do we got here?
So this is from last year, so they have a lot of returners.
Yeah, I remember. I remember a lot of these names. Evan Thomas last year.
I remember was Vinny Milbert.
I remember Vinny Milbert. I remember Shane West if he's coming back.
So again, like a lot of guys.
Owen Shemp had a nice year as well.
A lot of guys coming back for their last year.
Yeah.
I think it's two.
Greg Ferrari, that rocks.
That's awesome.
I do remember. I remember that name briefly.
But yeah, it's two seniors. The Max Preps roster is right. It's two seniors that are leaving, so it's going to be a pretty veteran squad, and maybe they got a chance to compete against Chichester.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that one thing that they do have going for them is that they are now in 4A because the 5A tournament is a lot tougher to compete in. Obviously, in the 4A tournament, it's obviously a step down. I think that's just because of the enrollment went down, and I think that having that 4A bracket could definitely help them out. I don't know how many teams. Yeah. Well, we forgot the timer here.
Yeah, whoops.
Well, unfortunately, we don't really have too much to add for the Interboro side of things. Shout out to intern Mateo Rivera, who's done a good job of taking pictures and videos.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
8th grader. How about that? Look at the work ethic to being like, I want to get to work in 8th grade.
Why not, man?
That's gritty. That's gritty, yeah. All right, well, since we forgot about the timer on that one, and we don't want to waste your time here, let's move on to another team that got a new head coach, and that is Chester. They went 5-7 in the Del Val. They were 6-10 overall. They did not qualify for the 6A playoffs. They got a new manager, Wayne Wells Jr., who is a Chester alum.
Okay.
A lot of friendly faces coming back, but first they lost Brandon Colon, Jemai Brown, and Marcus Benson. They got back Juan Martinez, Larry's Cadona, not Larry. Larry's has an S at the end.
Sure.
Jacoby Roman and Jonathan Quiros. I know Jacoby Roman had a nice year as a freshman. So I think that this is a team, first off, maybe the nicest field in Delco outside of Episcopal.
Dude, it's a
gorgeous
really
field.
Nice.
I think that if I recall, the Chester League or the Chester Delco League coach Dan McShane takes care of it.
He does a very good job of that. Shout out to Dan
because
I've been around forever.
I think their agreement was that he takes care of the field all year, and
they probably get to use
get to use it during the summer.
And he takes great care.
I mean, they got like stripes in the grass in the outfield. It's fantastic. The dirt is perfect. I don't love the batter's eye. It's like a White House out there, but maybe I just suck
not
at
much
baseball.
you can do about that.
Yeah, maybe I just suck at
you
baseball.
You might also suck at baseball. I mean,
I'm not a Delco League guy anymore. But with that being said, I think that it's good for Chester has great athletes. Chester's football is fantastic. Their basketball program's always good. It's just a matter of
so many people that go to that school.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of can they be developed into good baseball players? Mm-hmm. And I think that having a guy like Wayne Wells, who I don't know personally, but I know he is a Chester alum. I believe I saw 2009 graduate. I think that for them, just having baseball grow more in the area, maybe starting at the younger ages, can help build, because like we said, you see when you go out and watch a Chester football game, Division I athletes all over the field. Mm-hmm. The Harris brothers, Dom Toy was one of the biggest high school football players I've ever seen, and it's an area that I think people enjoy baseball. It's just not translating on the field, and I think that having a new coach here could maybe bring some new life and build that culture. Chester is a very tight-knit community. I don't know if you've ever seen their homecoming football game.
Out.
There were thousands of people at that homecoming football game. I was shocked.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. I think that they're in a good spot to grow, and it's going to be it's not going to be a 1-year type. That they're going to have to keep growing, but I do see there's the ingredients there to get a good baseball program.
Yep. All right, let's wrap up Chester here. Now it's funny in 6A. Can they make it if they go 6-6? Make the playoffs?
So
it depends what the formula.
It depends on the formula. If they go 7-5,
if they take care of business against Penwood and Academy Park,
and they would have to sneak one off of Interboro and try. They might be on the edge. Yeah,
it's hard because teams in other conferences play more games.
Yeah,
But all right, let's move on here. We got our two teams that are the only Delco representatives in their conferences. We'll start with Sun Valley. They were 5-12 in the Chessmont, 6-13 overall. They did not qualify for the district playoffs. Brian Palmore back as the head coach of the Vanguards. They lost some bats. A.J. Baldini to Cecil College, Justin Hickman, Ivano Romanello to Brandywine, Pat Willie leads at Chestnut Hill, Paul Miazza is at Holy Family. I think Will Newnham, he was committed to Brandywine. I'm not sure if he's there or not. I don't think we saw him on the roster.
He was not on the roster, but I don't know.
Returning players.
A million reasons why.
Returning players. I'm very excited to watch Jackson Messick. Got to see him a little bit in the Carpenter Cup. I think that he is going to be a good pitcher for them. I think he's going to be a good bat for them. Ryan Messick, I think it's his cousin. It might be his brother.
Okay.
But obviously they're related. Sebastian or Sabo Graham. When I was working in my last job, I saw him train all the time. Great hair. Might be the best flow in all of Delaware County, which would be a great award to have
that
in our category.
To think of.
And Max Bartolf, I think, is a Widener recruit.
Yes, he is.
So, I think that with Sun Valley, what we see from Sun Valley a lot is great individual player seasons, but, the teams haven't always been consistent. 2 years ago, Josh Lillis, one of the best pitchers in Delco. Icon Jones, one of the best hitters in Delco. Still didn't make the playoffs. So, it just feels like they need that full roster to chip in, and I'm not sure if this is the year to do that, but they do have a lot of players, and I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some talent. Sabo Graham, obviously a guy that I think you're going to have to watch this year.
Athletic freak.
Jackson Messick, one game as an Upper Darby Blue Sox. Shout out
really?
to you.
Gets a ring, right?
Yeah, technically, yeah. They're going to have some guys. The Chessmont's a tough league to compete in, especially where I think they're a little bit smaller than a lot of the schools there. They're traveling kind of out of their area for a lot of the schools. I think we've had the conversation of why are they not in the Del Val for a while?
Yeah, they were, and then they left.
Yeah. No idea on that, but the Chessmont's a tough league, so I think that's partially why. Sometimes maybe they struggle.
You know what trade I think would make sense? We trade Sun Valley from the Chessmont to the Central League in exchange for Conestoga, who is in Chester County.
That would be, right? Yeah, I think that would be a fair trade. No, I mean, no offense.
I love Stoga, but it's just purely geographical. I do feel bad for Sun Valley that every road game is far away. So if you want, it's hard to get your students out to Oxford, for an away game.
Where even is Oxford?
Middle of nowhere. Yeah. I think it's where Lincoln University is. I'm pretty sure.
Where's that?
Oxford. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
No, but I think for Sun Valley, great press box though. I will say that.
Yeah. That's a very nice field. Buggy's great.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of great Delco League moments.
Yeah, I mean, bad batter's eye again. Maybe I just suck. But last thing I'll say about
that's everyone complains.
It's
about
just the Chessmont's hard. There's a lot of good 6A teams. The Downingtowns are up there.
All the Westchesters,
all the Ruston, all that. But all right, let's move on to our final team that we got here, Delco Christian. Great year last year, 9-4 in the Bicentennial. They went 12-9 overall. They upset Doc Mennonite in the District 1 semifinals, and they lost to Faith Christian, who went undefeated and won the state championship.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
That's a very forgivable loss that they had there. Excuse me, manager Jeff Wisniewski, he's returning again. They really didn't lose too much. They lost Jackson Lewis, who was second-team All-Delco for us. They lost Cody Dill. But Mateo DeBellis had a great freshman year. Bo Lyron's back.
He was just a freshman.
I think he was just a freshman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reed Darnell. Also, his brother, or I believe it was his brother, hit the walk-off homer, Nate DeBellis, from Newtown Edgemont in that game we covered. Yeah. Either
That's
brother
awesome.
or cousin. I met him at the game. Reed Darnell, Sam Dixon's a big part of the team. Caleb Jameson had Bo Lyron on here twice. But nice. A lot of the core back from last year, they did move up to 2A. I don't know if that's because of the competitive formula or if that's because that they just had more males enrolled in the school. But, I think a lot of their arms are returning. They had, Sam Dixon, Porter Roberts, and Caleb Jameson all through, their three most innings. They're all back. And then Jackson Lewis, obviously losing him hurts. But, Mateo DeBellis having a 1050 OPS says he was either a freshman or sophomore.
That'll work.
That'll play.
Yeah, that'll certainly play. That's bring back enough like that. It's going to be a smaller league. They actually, as we were saying, they're not the only
That's right, the Christian Academy,
which is a Delco team.
If
that
anyone
we know,
that goes to the Christian Academy is listening, I apologize. We have never heard anything about their program.
To be honest, we did not know you guys were in Delco until last year, and it was kind of like
it was an accident because I was just on the Max Preps and I clicked on them to see their logo, and it said Brookhaven, PA, and I'm like,
"Our Brookhaven?"
I've just never met anyone that played there. So if you or anyone
reach
Christian
out.
Academy,
we would love to cover you more.
Yeah,
we weren't like ignoring you guys for any good reason. Really, just please reach out.
Yeah, it's just the people that we have on deck, we have to now that we have more interns, that definitely helps things out. But there's been some good players to come out of Delco Christian. I know that there's a lot of. I think it's in Newtown Square, right?
I believe so. I've driven past it so many times.
And at the time of this recording, the Delco Christian versus Upper Darby game hasn't happened yet. I think that can be a really good game.
Yeah, it could be. And a lot of good players come out there. Got a lot of good players now. There was one of my guys, one of my old SAA teammates, Luke Butler, played there.
Butler.
Yeah.
There we go.
Shout out to you, Luke. Whatever you're doing now.
Maybe you're watching. Who knows?
Yeah.
But all right, we're about at the 3-minute mark for Delco Christian. So the last thing I'll say is, do you know how many teams make the 2A tournament? Because 1A,
I believe it's. It's either 4 or 8. It depends on how many teams. 4
was the District 1, because they.
Yeah, it depends on how many schools are in it.
Not Delaware.
District 3A for District 1. There's.
I don't even think it exists, does it?
I think they combine with another district.
Okay.
And there's 4 teams. I think.
Let's see.
Bristol, Bristol is one of them.
There's 6. Okay, look. Wow, so they expanded it. So this year, 8 teams are making it
in 1A.
In 1A, and then 6 teams are making it.
No. It's. Oh wait, is that for? Oh, that's the playoff model.
Is that? Are we not talking about playoff?
No.
Wait.
Yeah, no. It's so.
It's that's saying how many teams are in there total. Okay.
Yeah. So it's 6 total, 4 playoff, 1
so there's
state.
4. Yeah. Okay. So there's only 2 teams. There's only 6 teams.
That includes Faith Christian, does it not?
They moved up as well. Oh well. But all right, that'll wrap up our team rankings here. So we'll do our power rankings, but first we should announce our first game of the week of the season. Shout out our new intern, David Shapansky from Villanova, who will be doing the play-by-play. I think I'll be in the booth with him doing a little color, but also just kind of helping.
I will be tweeting.
Helping running the broadcast. Ben will be doing the tweets here. So our first game of the week, we will be headed to Radnor. We're going to see Strath Haven versus Radnor, 2, I'll tell you in a sec, top 4 teams in the power rankings here. Whoever pitches, I know it'll be Luke Dancona for Strath Haven. Could be a variety guys for Radnor. I would expect Austin Havertine to get the nod, but I feel early in the year, you're probably getting a couple innings from everybody to stay fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we will see all of the arms that we talked about so much for both teams. I think we will see a good amount of them in that game. For that, kind of easy pick for game of the week to start the year.
Yeah, so we're excited. We'll be broadcasting live on the Delco Baseball Now YouTube channel. David will be doing some pre- and post-game content as well, which I'm very excited about. So we're looking forward to that, and hopefully all things go well with the stream. I thought the district championship stream was a massive success last year.
Great.
Yeah. All right, well, without further ado, let's get obviously this has already been announced, but we'll just take a minute or two to go over our power rankings for this year and what we're thinking here. We actually, this is a composite. So we had both Ben, myself, and our intern that we mentioned, Mark Zuppo from Garnet Valley. We all made our own individual rankings and put them all together. So recording over there. Sounds good. So we're going to start off here with number 1. We got Radnor, a team that last year, felt disrespected all year. I hope they feel respected now. We got one burner account from Haverford that isn't happy that they're ranked 5th. I think that's a fair ranking. We spoiled that already. But we got Radnor number 1.
Shout out to you, backdoor Slimer. I don't think I can say that.
Read the rest of that. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, this left 2 comments for us. Thanks.
And all right, backdoor. We'll keep that in mind. But yeah, as we talked about, Radnor, really good pitching staff, a lot of returning bats, great coach. I like them as the top team. We'll go number 2. We got Bonner. We got a veteran pitching staff, top 3 guys back, a lot of young and exciting bats in the order, and they've just earned the reputation the last couple of years to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Haverford School is ranked number 3. Again, this is being recorded Thursday night, so we don't have any information other than that. We still believe in this lineup. Maybe they could slide it down a little depending on how the pitching goes, but for now, I think 3 is a good spot. I mean, they made the state semis last year.
Yeah,
so
they've done enough to earn that spot.
Yep. 4th, we got Strath Haven. Again, returning their top 3 arms. I think they have some good bats. I think Luke Dancona's a little slept on at the plate. He hit 300 last year.
He hit pretty well.
He's a big boy. I think he can. I think he puts one out of Haven this year. That would be
fun to see.
Not that deep to left field.
He's got the size. You could add a little bit of juice.
Yep.
That'd be something.
Yep. All right. Number 5, we got Haverford. As we mentioned, a ton of really their core is still junior, sophomore, seniors. They got some talent there, like Nick Elvanian, and I got to shout out my guy Will Elias, cousin of my friend Ryan Elias, who I beat in the fantasy football championship. Sorry, Cuzzo, had to bring that up because I might never win again.
That's fair point.
I think Haverford. Brian Miller seems like he's done a great job with the culture over there, and I think Cam McCormick can also enter that breakout player of the year conversation.
Absolutely.
Marple Newtown, it feels disrespectful to have them only at 6 after they won a district championship last year, but a lot of that offense is gone. Their top 2 arms, top really 3 arms are back, so I wouldn't be surprised if they make us look dumb again, but for now,
very real chance they do.
Based on what we know, it's hard to judge what their offense will look like, so we'll see. We know that Garnet Valley, which I guess we spelled wrong in the power rankings. I didn't even notice that. Garnet Valley has an E in Valley, apparently. Garnet Valley. We know they're going to hit. That's not going to be an issue for them. We're going to see how their arms develop. But I feel like all year they're around that 7, 6 to 8 slot.
Yeah, it feels like a fair spot to start them out in.
Number 8, we got Episcopal. I still believe in their arms. I still believe that their offense has some untapped potential. I think that we could see Jake Verbitsky's, I think, someone that has a lot of talent that hasn't quite broken out yet. Trust the bloodlines, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And last but not least, this is actually a big debate because all of us that made the rankings, Mark, Ben, and myself, we all had the same top 8 teams, and we all had a different 9 team. You had O'Hara, Mark had Conestoga, and I had Ridley. And since I just made the decision.
Yeah, you just kind of vetoed all of us, I guess.
I think it's also because Ridley ended the season at 9.
Yeah,
that was kind of my.
That's completely.
That was kind of my logic. Yeah, but what's the point of being the boss if you don't get to make?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta press that button.
Yep. So Radnor, Bonner, Haverford School, Strath Haven, Haverford, Marple Newtown, Garnet Valley, Episcopal, and Ridley. Well, I think this was a lot of fun. Coming out
awesome.
here. I mean, first off,
these things are awesome.
This chair is $6,000. We might steal it, but I don't know if it'll fit in my car. I don't know if it'll fit out the door. It'll fit in my car here. But maybe if any more investors want to join us, and
your money's going straight to this chair.
This is a must. This is an absolute must. But thank you so much to Jessica and Dick's House of Sport for having us out here. Awesome setup. Come out here and get all of your spring baseball shopping done. I always felt like cold weather stuff was when you'd get all your baseball stuff. You'd get the pants. You'd get batting gloves, helmet, equipment, all that stuff, and then you'd go play a game and you realize I'm freezing. And then you need to go and get the Little League stuff out and get the warm weather, bundle up stuff around here. But this place, I mean, it's almost overwhelming. You can have a birthday party here. What age is too old for a birthday party? Is 25 too old? Not too old? All right. We can come out here. We got the golf simulator over here.
Yeah,
Shanked the 209 drive earlier. We got the batting cage, the rock climbing wall. You did a pretty good job getting up there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I sweat too much.
Yeah, that could
to do that. I didn't want to sweat too much.
I had to do like a pit check before this.
Yeah.
So we're good, but
you got the harness over there.
Yeah.
Anything else we're missing of cool stuff for people to do around here? There's like a house of cleats somewhere, right?
Right there.
Go out and go behind us and try out the cleats. You got the turf. You can really get those angles.
And
everything.
Run like an Oklahoma drill if you bring a friend.
Yeah, a lot of. There's life-size Jason Kelsey somewhere around here, or someone there's an Eagles O-line. There's some big mannequins here.
Yeah,
it's pretty intimidating.
Guys are intimidating. Yeah.
There's Travis Konechny doing a face-off somewhere over there. Yeah. All right, well, everybody, we appreciate you tuning in. I don't know when we'll be back here. Hopefully, sometime back here. It's a great spot. Hopefully, more Dick's House of Sports coming. It puts normal Dick's Sporting Goods to shame, and that's what we're looking for here. But as always, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Cut.